Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Mohammad Sohail Khan. In this particular session, I will be talking about issues in career development. So just a brief overview about what is career. Career means many things to many people. However, a typical definition of career would be the pattern of work-related experiences that span over the course of a lifetime for a person's working life. In terms of career development, what is career development? So career development would be an ongoing process in which an employee or an individual has been exposed to different opportunities through a series of stages in the lifetime of their work related experiences. So what are the typical issues in career development? So in terms of management literatures, these are kind of four issues that have been discussed in management literature regarding the career development. So the first issue would be developing career motivation. It would be difficult for the employees, for the organization to develop a career motivation in employees. Secondly, organization needs to deal with the career plateau of different employees. Third, career development for the non-exempt employees. For the non-exempt employees, we are really talking about the employees who are working on the who are basically doing a blue collar job. And also in terms of enrichment for the employees who do not have the advancement opportunities in their organization. So first we should think that why HR should care about these issues. If we just go to the basics of HR basically try to find out or the influence of employees' career so that they can be integral part of the organization, and then their performance basically impacts the organizational ROIs as well. Career development generally, however, specifically provides a future orientation to HRD activities. So HRD activities can be designed if there is a proper career development plan. However, if we just look at the organizational life cycle, we know that all the organizations have been impacted through the change, whether that change is through globalization, whether the change is through the change of the strategy or the difference of the strategy that organization is following earlier. However, the change is the constant thing in the organizational life cycle. So HR should take care of all the issues that they have been encountering in terms of employees' career development. So the first one is developing the career motivation. So what is developing career motivation? So basically, career motivation affects how people choose their career. So for example, what are the what are the things that they're looking in terms of choosing their career. Number two would be how people view their career. So what are the perception of those employees about their own career, and how hard those people work towards achievement of those career goals or the career objectives. And the important thing is how much they sustain, how much those employees stay in doing all the activities that is necessary to achieve their career goals. So career motivation basically had three kinds of phases. So the first one is career resilience, the second is career insight, and the career identity. If we just start defining career resilience, it's about the extent to which people resist career barriers. We already talked about how much the willingness that these people have, by people I mean the employees have, so that they can take the risk in their careers in terms of getting those career goals. Second is career insight. Career insight is basically includes developing goals and gaining knowledge of the self or the employment. Basically, it is about how much they know about their career, what kind of insight do they have there about their career, what they think that where they should land in the next 5 to 10 years. So those career insight is really important in making small term goals. So for example, in making smart goals or in making smart career choices, those career insight is really important for the employee. And the third one is career identity. I think so. We have learned so much from the management literature that sometimes employees basically try to identify themselves with the type of work that they're doing. So, for example, if someone is in the business of instruction, they try to identify themselves as a instructor or professor or lecturer or assistant professor. So that's kind of a career identity we are talking about here. So employees needs to know that how they can easily identify themselves with the career opportunities that is basically along their way. So what are some of the methods of increasing career motivation? In terms of career resilience, organization needs to basically build up the self-confidence through the positive feedback. So performance appraisals, performance review, performance evaluations are the key in that. So once employees are being exposed to the performance evaluation or the performance management systems, it's the responsibility of their supervisor to give them a fair performance appraisal so that they can have different motivation in term or confidence in terms of developing career resilience. Another point that is really important in that aspect is about generating opportunities for achievement. So organization needs to constantly generate opportunities that basically helps employees to achieve, to have self sense of achievement. So if we just looked at that, so self achievement basically impact the self-confidence of these employees. Self-confidence leads to motivation. That motivation basically leads to improved performance, and that improved performance leads to career development or the progression of that career in the employee's career life cycle. Another important thing that organization can do is basically create an environment, create a conducive environment where the risk taking is appreciated. So one of the things that has been mentioned in organizational literature is that there are less opportunities for an employee to take risk. Or for example, if the employees took those risks, these are not basically appreciated in some way because taking risk can also leads to all the wrongdoings that employees can do. So, for example, taking risk can also leads to burning of organizational resources, or taking risk can also mean a loss of in financial terms, or taking risk can also leads to employees' poor performance. So all those risk-taking activities are basically not appreciated in the environment or in the organizational environment. So first of all, if an organization needs to support career resilience, I think so the main thing that is important in that phase is that they should provide opportunities to employees so that they can take risk. And we know that higher risk can result into higher return. The second method for tackling the career insight would be encourage employees to set their own goals. So sometimes setting the mutual goals with their employees or providing the opportunities for employees to develop their own career plans basically help employees to understand their own careers or their own career ladders. So, and definitely it gives an employees a good peek into their careers. So how employees can set their own goals. One of the methods that have been described in the management literature is about supplying those employees with the relevant information that is needed to set their own goals. And when I'm talking about setting their own goals, I mean about the SMART goals. The SMART goals, basically, those goals should be specific, those goals should be measurable, those goals should be attainable, those goals should be reliable, and those goals will be definitely time bound so that employees can basically gauge their own career success. And the most important thing in that whole scenario is giving the performance feedback at the regular intervals of time. The third thing that an organization can do in terms of um, building the career identity would be encouraging work involvement through job challenges or professional growth, or providing career development opportunities, for example, management development programs or the leadership development programs. So once the organization have been given the organization gave more responsibilities to the employees, and more responsibilities can be in terms of leadership position or in terms of any advancement position. It can be both horizontally or vertically. Employees basically start identifying themselves with their organization. So employees think that organization has basically start trusting in their abilities. Once the organization has started trusting in their abilities, it will give more confidence in the employees. It will increase their self-confidence as well. That will eventually leads to career identity. Then they basically identify themselves with the organization. That increases their job satisfaction. That increases their organizational commitment. So those are the opportunities are basically important for the organizations to give to their employees. The second issue that organizations face is about the career plateau. If we just define the career plateauing, it's basically the point in a career of an employee where there is a less likelihood of additional hierarchical promotion. So, for example, there is a tipping point in an employee's career where the employees see that there is very less chance of hierarchical movement. So, for example, there is less growth opportunities for the employees. Definitely, if employees have been working in an organization for a certain number of times, say about 10 to 15 years or 20 years per se, and after that, if an employee feels that this is the tipping point in these employees' career, it can become really stressful for those employees. It can be stressful, it can be frustrated, it can be a feeling of a guilt or a failure. However, it's typically sometimes it's not the case. It's basically the hierarchical structure of the organizations that has been made in a way that after um, reaching to certain points, there is less opportunities for the employees to enhance. Maybe, for example, if the next career ladder will be taking next 7 to 8 years, however, the organizations will, however, the employee will only have 5 years. So these are kind of a time where employees thinks that this is the tipping point for their career. So now the question is that what should the HR or what should the organization should be doing in terms of overcoming that kind of feeling from the employee's perspective. So if we just think in that, organization or HRD specifically needs to determine the employee's perception of the extent in which they think that their career is static. So for example, HR needs to know about the extent of which employee think that their career is static. So for example, whether they're thinking that their career will be static like in next 5 years, or they think their career is static right now. So the organization needs to know the employee perspective in terms of how much they are knowing about their own careers. The second thing would be identify the reasons of that plateauing. So, for example, why employees are thinking that, what is the reason of that tipping point? What is the reason of that particular saturation point? Why employees are thinking that they have reached to that particular saturation point? Is it something that employees think that basically related to their own skills, attitudes, behaviors, or whether they think that there's some kind of skill gap, or it's basically that they have been observed by living or by working in that organizations. And then organization needs to make some kind of tailored program for the employees so that they can resolve those career plateauing stages in some way. So we have to think in a way, maybe it's possible that we can have some kind of programs for the employees so that they can have some kind of career development opportunities and they can start working in their own career. And sometimes they do not. Sometimes employees are basically definitely reaching to that stages. So organizations needs to cater both situation, whether the career development, the career plateauing is basically the perceived thinking of the employee or the perception of the employee, or it basically actually reaches to that stage where the employee cannot really uh, progress in their whole career. So organizations needs to look at both the picture. So what else employees can do? So for example, if there are certain opportunities that can be available to that employees in terms of, so that their feeling or their perception of career plateauing can be lessening. So employees, so the organization should broaden or should give those opportunities to the employees. So, for example, if employees are thinking that it's a tipping point in terms of doing any vertical promotions, organization can work in the horizontal way for the broadening the opportunities so that the organization should have the employee should have some opportunities in terms of broadening their work design, at least in the horizontal way. The least that employees can the organization can do is to remove those kinds of obstacles. So for example, if there is some kind of training development program that has some kind of age limit, at least the organization can do is to remove that age limit so that employees can feel satisfied in some way that they have been giving the opportunities and they are not being basically they are not being targeted because they are getting old in terms of that. Also, organization can help employees to identify and prepare for the new challenges that will be coming to the in their way. And in another important issue that organization faces is about the career development of the non-exempt employees. For the non-exempt employees, I'm talking about the blue collar employees, typically the employees that are basically engaged in some kind of clerical or supporting staff. Those employees can be paid hourly or weekly rates, are also entitled to work overtime. So basically, I'm talking about the employees that are basically paying in terms of wages. So the typical positions that I'm talking about are the clerical technicians or the supporting staff related positions. So why there is a hard development program or the career development program for those kinds of employees? The number one thing is the job satisfaction, because the type of their work is kind of repetitive. So day in, day out, they are basically doing the same kind of work. Those workers sometimes, not sometimes, basically those workers most of the times are unchallenging. So those kinds of activities basically impacts employees' job satisfaction. So employees are basically dissatisfied in those kinds of jobs. Also, changing current status is not easy for those employees. Basically, now these employees needs to go through the whole significant cultural change. So, for example, if there are some kind of opportunities for those employees to change what we call in the organization literature to change their color of their collars. So, for example, if there is an opportunity for those employees to move from blue collar jobs to the white collar jobs. However, it is a significant cultural change for those employees because it's a cultural adjustment as well. It's a redesigning of their work. It's a new world for them. So those kinds of things or those kinds of tasks are sometimes are not really easy for those employees, or those opportunities are sometimes are not easy for employees to to attain those job opportunities because or the role opportunities because of the significant cultural change. Third, the exempt employees may become frustrated because there will be less vertical transition. So once employees think that there are less vertical transition or there are less vertical movement or the vertical hierarchical movement that is being available to them, they become frustrated and then they start thinking about their repetitive work, their unchallenging work. So they think that they cannot adjust into the new environment and all they need to do is the same kind of work that they are already doing. So they become frustrated in that in those kinds of situations. So what can HR do in that? So the least that HR can do is to support a lifelong learning opportunities. So learning opportunities can include the tuition reimbursement for those employees. So we have to think that those employees are already adult. So we have to think about the lifelong learning opportunities or the adult learning opportunities for those employees. So all the principles that basically cater the adult learning, we need to apply all those principles in terms of giving the lifelong learning opportunities to those employees. Or the organization can develop a resource center for those employees, the career development resource center, so that those employees can be given a chance in terms of either uh, uh, take part in the learning activities or they should engage with some kind of development plans so that it would be easy for them to come in terms of their career plateauing. The last issue that an organization face is about the is from the members that are basically that do not have advancement opportunities. So what can organization do for those kinds of people? As I think so, I already talked about a job enrichment phase where the organization can basically enrich the experience of their job. So what do I mean by enriching the job experiencing? Enriching the job experiences basically means job rotation, job transfer, transferring those employees to work in a similar kind of pay scale maybe or similar kind of hierarchical scale. However, the nature of the job will be changed. So once they are basically working in the environment or the condition or the task which is really new for them, they kind of started feeling satisfied in a way because they would be not frustrated. They do not think that this would be saturation point that they cannot exceed. Now they will be engaged in learning new things. uh, the only thing that organization can do in terms of whole career plateauing or all the issues that is basically related to career development is basically helping employees in terms of understanding that there are a couple of other options as well that those employees can seek through. So, for example, there can be several certification programs or the training programs that those employees can be engaged in. So, for example, those training programs may include learning different skills. learning a new skills by being into that organization. So, for example, if an employee is basically working in the area of HR, they can go through the courses of HR analytics. They can go through the courses that how HR analytics can impact the business decisions. Also, they can engage in several kinds of career development workshops, whether that career development workshops basically tell them about the how their personality, how different personality leads to different career. They can also engage in different kind of activities in learning different kinds of tasks. So for example, an HR person can also learn about digital marketing. An HR person can also learn about how HR can work uh, like from remotely. HR person can also think about all the other opportunities that has available to employees that are working in different sectors. For example, HR person can take some marketing related course, some financial related course, some leadership development related course, some management development related course, or they can even take the course of how to improve their communication skills. So these are some of the programs that organizations can help in terms of so organization can help employees so that they have less issues in their career development. Hopefully this video will give you a better chance of understanding what are the issues in terms of career development and how organizations and specifically how HR can overcome all these issues. Thank you very much.